How's it going, everyone? We're just going to give it a few minutes, then we'll get started. Hey, Andrew.
Hey, sir. Good to see you, Paul.
You too. Just give it another minute or so here, and then we'll jump in and kick
Perfect.
us off. How's that sound?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. I think we'll get this going here, Andrew.
Yeah,
Everybody that doesn't catch the beginning, they can catch out the recording.
yep, yep. Awesome. Well, no, yeah, it looks like we have a great crowd today. And these are also always such great community calls that Paul and Nathaniel and others have put together. So we're just appreciative keeping these going. And really just the goal is get the community of users together that are using Simple Chat, share ideas, get out updates, talk through use cases, and just, really want to use Simple Chat to drive impact within your particular organization. We have a pretty packed agenda we usually do, so I don't want to delay too much, but just some housekeeping. In the invite, there's resources such as the repo and some great documentation Paul and team have put together, as well as the recordings that are there. So, and today's recording will also be shared. So, without further ado, I'll turn it to the man, Paul, and Nathaniel to run through this. Thanks.
Great. Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it. Yeah, so we have a lot to go through. We have a big update. Everything I'm going to show today is going to be coming out June 23rd. I'm going to go through a bunch of things, hand it over to Nathaniel to go through some stuff, and then come back to me. And we'll see how much time we have, if we can fit it all in here. So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to just jump straight into it. We're going to jump through a few different versions. So the first thing we're going to look at, this has been on the table for a little bit. You can see it already in the menu. We have support for Claude now. So any of the Anthropic models that your organization can deploy in your environment, you can now leverage in your space. We're just going to say hey to it, just so you can see that it works. We also have a bunch of UI updates and clean, things that really clean things up. The streaming text is gone, and now it says thinking. So making the UI and everything a lot nicer experience. The next thing we're going to jump into is analyze. So if you open up your workspace, you have a new action. So if you typically jump in here and you're used to clicking scope, scope is shifted an inch to the right. So there's a new ability called search, analyze, and compare. If you can't see the drop down, I'll just be selecting it. So analyze allows you to work across a huge amount of documents. And we're going to show this a little bit from the admin side first, so you can see how this is managed. So from the administrative side, you have these two new capabilities. You can enable them or not. Analyze, you can do in chat up to 300. And you also see workflows here that can go up to 1,000. And then document comparison, 50 or so, 300 and 1,000 as well. We'll showcase what the purpose of each of these are. All right, so I did one earlier, and so these are a bunch of documents. I'm just gonna start a new chat here, in case we need to use Julia Child's experience here. So I have a bunch of forms, and this is gonna showcase two new features. These forms I have 15 forms here. Of course, it's always great to have a bug during the demo. And this new feature, we're going to jump over and look at it real quick here. So what Analyze is going to do, oh, I still had it on search. There we go. Should have been my first indicator. So Analyze is going to go through and thoroughly check out every single object in this list. And of course, the bugs are catching me today. That's always great. So if we look at this, I ran this earlier. So which of these individuals, it went through and processed every single document. Plus, it's able to use the new capabilities that we've enabled here with document intelligence that better understands structure, tables, check marks, paragraph structure, and stuff like that. The reason we didn't start with this at the beginning, and we'll go down here so you can see where this option is. Under document intelligence, you now have PDF and image extraction. You have standard, enhanced, and auto. So you can keep it in standard. If you use enhanced all the time, there is a cost increase, and it's about 10 to 15% slower on analyzing, but it gives you a lot richer structure. So maybe you don't need it for everything. In that case, you can run the default standard, so that's going to be the same cost that you're used to. But if you come in here, you can always update it. Let's find something that's a little bit older. There we go. You can always update it to enhanced. So things like forms or PDFs or images that have structure that you want to maintain that structure and codify it, switching it to enhanced will get you that. And then it gives you that ability then to see things form selected or something like that. And this thing here is able to go through, look at these forms. Again, these are all fake documents, and evaluate, is that checkbox checked? All right, so another thing we're doing here is an improved chat upload. Let me just grab a document. Of course, my computer decided to update itself. So we're going to start a new chat here. We're going to just drag it into, you can just drag now documents. You can copy them from your local computer as well and just hit Control V. That's like images as well, anything. And what it's going to do now, it's actually being processed and saved into your workspace. And the reason we changed this is that we wanted the same experience for documents that are uploaded here, because we've had a lot of feedback that users were confused as to when they upload something here, why can it not be used the same way as when you upload it to a workspace? So now what happens when you upload it here, it is processed and saved in your workspace, but it's associated with a conversation tag. So now you can use tags and you can see all your conversations, documents. And then the conversation itself, that document itself, is also associated with that conversation. So you can always click on it and go to that conversation and see it. And then if you delete this conversation, it gives you the option to either retain that document or delete it with that conversation. Again, the purpose here, before, a lot of the documents that got uploaded into chat were not always accessible. You didn't really know unless you went into the chat what was there and stuff like that. So this gives users a lot more control. And by uploading it straight to the conversation, you now get to leverage it like with all the same capabilities that the search workspace and agents and stuff had before. So it's not going to be a reduced experience or something that you have to mentally manage and juggle. All right, if I do it this way, it's like this. If I do it that way, it's like this. All right, group workspaces. Something else about this, now that we have multi-user conversations. So I can invite somebody else to a conversation now. In this case, I invited Nathaniel. When you upload files to a personal conversation that's been turned to a shared one, those users are shared that document from your personal workspace. So you can then see from your personal workspace that it's been shared out and stuff like that. And then if you delete it, it's deleted from everybody, but you still maintain control over it because it was your document in your conversation. Now we also have group conversations. So if you start a conversation from a group, that's yours, but that's stored differently. And then we have multi-user group conversations as well. So you can share that with other people with that group. And then those are shared in the group workspace. So for you to upload a file to a group conversation, you have to have owner, admin, or document manager rights. If you don't, then you cannot upload a document to a group conversation, multi-user conversation. All right, so we talked through that. Analyze capability. Let's look at analyze again here. We're just going to jump to another version. Come on, there we go. So with analyze, I'm just going to pick a few documents here. Analyze gives the ability to also do themes. So like search was something that was like very articulate. Like think about when you Google search something, you're finding one answer, but maybe you want to find out how many of this thing are in a document or what is the common theme across. Now it's going to run through this, and this can take a while. Again, you can select up to 300 documents in chat if you want to analyze them like this. It's going to perform similarly, though not quite as quickly as a knowledge graph. But it's going to go through and analyze all of this. This one might take 20 minutes to perform, but it's going to run just fine. You can leave and come back, and it'll be there. Analyzing and performing and executing on that. The compare. So the compare feature is if you want to select multiple documents, think if you have, let's pick one, I have a simple chat here. Maybe you have multiple versions of the document that's been uploaded. Now you can compare version 1 to version 3 or version 2 to version 3 to see the differences. It's going to go through and do that same analysis, but from a comparison perspective. This can also be good if you're doing things like there's a new OMB directive and you understand how it affects my SSP or affects some other documentation that you organizationally, that you have in the organization. Or if there's a new NIST 800 Rev, 853 Rev 6, how does that affect my SSP? You can use this to help, perform that analysis. Are we going to jump into another one here? This is around the web. So we've added a new capability called deep research. And for this one, I'm just going to, let's talk about, early American history, 1700 to 1750. Now it's going to go off and use the web in a lot more thorough way to search this answer. And it's going to take a little bit longer. With the web, initially, it was using Bing, going out and finding that, again, kind of very articulate. What we do now, if you do the web search, it's going to use Bing, but it's also going to take your query and generate a handful of other queries that are analogous or similar to it, but different enough to really encompass your request. Then go out, analyze, get those results back, and then perform deeper analysis on those websites to find more information. I'm going to pull this up in the admin settings so you can see what you have control over. This is under the search and extract area, so you have your web search. We're going to jump into URL next. But deep research, here's the features for it. So you can gate it. So you can enable it and control which users have access to it. You can allow access to internal hosts as well. You can control how many results come back, how many redirects, all this kind of stuff. And if you're running Simple Chat in a container, it will leverage Playwright to even perform more capabilities on that website. Now, when it's running, if you have this enabled, it does run in a sandbox space that is secured and isolated from Simple Chat's code itself. And you can set this up to respect robots.txt or even log all this activity as well. This rendered load more clicks is a lot of websites now use JavaScript and hide content beyond the first set of details that you can see, load more. So this gives you control over how many times you want deep research to click load more to get more information. This can be useful for sites that have a lot of listed data, like the OMB site. A lot of federal government sites have data, gated behind more that load more click. And then with URL research, let's just take a fun one here. And you can do this with a lot, up to 100 URLs. And you get the control of that. We'll jump into that. You get this new option here, review pasted URLs. If you don't select it, it treats your link as just text. If you enable it, now it's going to treat it as a URL and then leverage deep research to analyze it. It's going to go through, looks like I have a bug on this one. It's going to go through and do that same deep research analysis, but it doesn't have to play in the search queries as much. It's not going to, now it's just going to go through those sites, the links that you had, and it can do N+2. So it can go quite deep into the website. Here we go. This one finished up. This is a lot more thorough than it would be if it was just normal web search. And it shows you what it did. So you can view this, and it goes through and shows all the queries, all the web searches it did, all the sites, and how much more information and how much data it went through. And so we'll come back to that. Here, it went through the GitHub repo, and you can see it found links quite deep into the site. So that's deep research, and that's URL access. Those are optional capabilities. Let's go check the settings out for that. So here's URL access. Again, that can be gated. You can turn it on and then control who can use it, how many URLs it's limited to, and everything like that, as well as workflow. And then you can also control the domains if you whitelist or blacklist domains. And then you can test that policy out. The goal here is, control, but also and flexibility, but also more power and more authority for users to execute on the ideas that they have. All right, you're gonna see this one earlier. So now we have chart generation. I'm just gonna start it. Doesn't matter which model you pick. It'll go through and it'll start creating a chart based on that. You can see that's pretty quick. You also have control over what that chart looks like. You can change the colors and everything like that. I'm clicking on, this is another pop-up, so you can actually change the color of it right there. And then that's saved. Now we also have the ability then here, we've always had this export to Word and PowerPoint. So you can export this out and it's going to retain the color structure and everything. Let's go back to that one where we asked it for a PowerPoint. So here it went through, we asked generate a PowerPoint. So we had this first one from the web, went out and got a whole bunch of great info. And I said, let's turn that into a PowerPoint. It went through and created it. Now, one thing that we've added in here too is it will create charts and images in line, as many as it thinks it needs to get the point across. Now, it didn't ask for too many images this time, but it asked for one. Now, there's one in here. You get to approve that one, and this is created in line. If sometimes it asks for 3 based on the topic you're looking for, it'll create these in the conversation, but not generate them until you select generate. The goal here is we've had generate images for a while, but it's always been this one-time conversational thing. We thought it could be really powerful to give you the ability to generate images in line with your content. Let's do this again. Tell me about the moon landing, through the space exploration through the 60s and 70s, and turn it into a PowerPoint. And then add images throughout the deck as appropriate. I'm going to show some more where, so we're going to have it kick that off. And we're going to start jumping into some other areas here. We've been in chat a lot. So we've had agents for a while. But we've added speech in there too. But sometimes building out these agents, requires a lot more typing or thought. We've added the ability to dictate here, test agent. This is an example of a test agent. So, maybe transcription can be really fast, and this is nice for here, but where it's really powerful are the instructions. So now we've also done this instruction brief. So you can say, hey, you can type this out. Or you can talk to it. Hey, I'm doing a demo right now and I built out a test agent. Help me define a great set of instructions. And then you select draft. Now what it's going to do is it's going to go through and take your initial instruction brief and turn it into a markdown-based draft to meet your needs. No longer do you have to go into another chat, have a conversation, copy it, and then paste it in here to get these kinds of things going. And we've added this text input across the application for actions, as well as groups. This is the new profile as well. I'm going to jump here and show that. So this is where you have your stats and everything. But now under groups, if you make a new group, let's see. I don't have permissions. Of course, I picked one. I didn't have permissions to. There we go. You can go through and change the group name or description and stuff like that. We'll continue to add these in here. The goal is to just make it a little bit easier. I converse with AI and my applications all the time, and I just felt this is a really powerful way to continue to integrate voice and other capabilities. All right, inline image. Let's go back to that PowerPoint that it's making. Here we go. So you can see this is green. So there we go. So we have a bunch of inline images here. You can go through and approve these individually. If there's more than 2, there'll be a button that allows you to approve all of them. And then they'll go through and they'll queue up and they'll get generated as they finish. So we'll come back to this when at the end, because image generation can take a little while. I'd like to hand it over to Nathaniel for a little bit. He's going to show some really cool stuff around governance and around custom pages.
Howdy, everybody. Let me just go ahead and get my screen shared. I will be sharing one of my screens. I'll be jumping around between a bunch of different. All right. Can everybody see?
Yes.
All right, cool. So first thing I'm going to go over is custom pages, then I'll go over governance. So what custom pages is custom pages is a new feature we're introducing that is going to allow you to add your own pages. We support essentially two different kinds of pages. We support Python that uses Jinja to build the templates. That's the same architecture that we use throughout the rest of the app. We also support just static HTML, CSS, JavaScript type pages as well. We have complete API support, so if you need to write your own APIs to query into your own things, you can do that. So what are some examples? We're going to ship the application with an example that is there that you can enable very easily. So let me take you to show you what that looks like. So in the admin app settings, if you come down into, there'll be a new tab called Custom Pages. Let me go ahead. And you'll see that we have this access request slug here, guy. Let me go ahead and delete him. Oops. All right. So now that he's been deleted, there's this green button here under custom pages that you can press. It's going to automatically add everything that you need to get this access request page up and running. Now, there's a couple things with custom pages. We currently do not support unauthenticated users. Every user needs to be authenticated. Now, that's different than them needing to be listed as a user in the application. And this is where this becomes potentially really powerful. So I enabled custom pages. You can see I set the menu name. So I'm going to go ahead and add that page. It comes through. It gives me instructions. There is an email address in this page that needs to be updated. If you don't update it, you'll see it as just access request. We have the information on how to go ahead and do that. But you can see down here, it now created this guy. Let me go through and show you guys what this looks like. So the slug is the section of the URL, how it's going to show up in the bar. So I'll show you that here in a second. The request or the title is what's going to show up in the top of the page, in the top of the browser for their URL. The description is just a description of it. The navigation label is what's going to show up, whether they're top nav or left nav. It's what's going to show up there. You get to choose your own Bootstrap icon that you want to have show up. You get to choose the order that they show up in. Over here, you can specify the rules or the roles that are required. So if you want a page to only be access to admin, if you add your own custom roles to your authentication service principal, right? You can set specific sites to be linked to those specific roles. You specify the base HTML file, and then you also select any signed in user. This particular one is any signed in user. App users only means they have to also at minimum have the app user or an app user role. So for our request page, we want it to be any signed in user. Now down here, this is very important because if you do not declare the files associated with your site, it will not load them. This is a safety security feature that we have here. So as here, you can see, and I'll actually demo the difference in the same exact web page with this CSS versus without the CSS. The couple other features we have down here is, do you want to have it published? Means you can start uploading websites. You can potentially access them, but they won't be published. Whether or not you want it to show in navigation. So this one, I'm not going to show in navigation. And even if you want it to open it up in a new tab. So when they click on it, if you want it to open up here, or if you want it to open up in a new tab, you can choose all that stuff. You can see I have a couple different ones here. Several of these aren't actually loaded up in the system anymore because they were examples that I was using to build it. But taking you over to a different user that's logged into the system. This system is an authenticated user. It is a test user. You'll be able to see that it's a different user. I go ahead and click login. And I logged in. Normally, if we logged in and we had a profile and we were a user of the system, we'd get the profile down here. However, we don't get that. All we get is we get the simple chat page. We get the request access button. I'm going to go ahead and press request access. This is, you can up here, you can see we're now at /custom/access request. This is that slug that we were at. In our example, you have this. They would just press request access. And then what it's going to do is if I go ahead on my other screen and pull this guy up, is that button, according to what the website is doing, right? That button just loads up and tells it to open up a mail and populate the mail, right? And this will here populate in a minute. I'll come back to that here, but it's going to open up mail, it's going to populate it, and it's going to be auto-addressed to the specific people that I sent it to. Now, does it have to do this? No, you could take this, you could send it to a Power Automate approval flow, right? You could give permissions to a managed identity and then have them automatically added to a group that has the user role. So the capabilities behind custom pages really are limited to what you guys can come up with and the use cases that you guys have for it. Now, to show you the fact that there is a very strict adherence to the files being here. You'll notice I'm using the same HTML file here, and you'll notice that I don't have any CSS files here. So now, when I come over here to the custom page right here, internal access request, which is the same HTML, you'll notice it's the same page, but none of the center aligning CSS is being loaded because I didn't declare that CSS file. So if you have JavaScript, if you have CSS, you have to make sure you add them. If not, it does not load. All the instructions for how to do this are available in the admin app settings. If you're in the admin app settings for custom pages, there's also a bunch more documentation in our how-to. There's also several, all of the examples that I wrote there for both Python, static, just static HTML, and then static HTML with things like JavaScript, CSS. So all the instructions are here in this config guide for how to go ahead and get this enabled. If you guys need any help, right, we're always available. You can either use the in-app feedback support. You can just mail us simplechat@microsoft.com, right? We'll be more than glad to help you guys with custom pages. Were there any questions that I might have missed in chat or no? Doesn't look like it. Okay, so the other feature that we're introducing is we're also introducing a feature called governance. So what governance is going to allow you to do, it's going to allow you to toggle features on and off for certain individuals and or groups. So for example, you can see I currently have govern personal agents on. You can see I have govern global endpoints is always on because you can't really use the system at all without governing your global endpoints. And then govern, I have global agents as well. So there's two different types of governance that we're introducing right now. We're going to introduce feature governance, which is what these toggles are. And then we also have item delegation governance. So going into feature governance first, you can see global agents and global endpoints I have set up to govern, but I just have it set up to allow all. And you can see user agents I have down here. And when I click at my allow list, you can see the only person in my entire system here that is allowed to use a user agent is Paul. I am not actually on this list, even though I'm an admin of the system. So let's say I wanted to add my other test user who's not a part of the system. I come over here, I go search. Right, test user 1 shows up. I could check the box. I could add the user. Now, a new thing that we are doing with groups is we are also allowing you to use a group that is user created to scope with governance. Now, what that means is if you take a group and you add it to a personal agent or a personal action governance, everybody in that group has that access to that personal stuff. So it is very flexible. It is very verbose. It is also very inclusive at the same time. So you need to be aware of what you're introducing those things and those features to. You can also do groups and the same thing. If you have a lot of people that you need to add or a lot of groups and you have their object IDs, like their Entra object IDs, you can go ahead, you can do users, we have merge and replace mode. You can just put one per line or you can do comma separated IDs. So, I mean, you can add, I've tested 10,000 users adding them at once. And 10,000 users added no problems at all. So we do have bulk adding as well. Now, what this looks like is, for example, I don't currently have access to personal agents. So if I go over to my personal workspace, I'm going to see that personal agents are disallowed by governance for my account. Now, if Paul came here, Paul would have the ability to do personal agents because it's enabled for him. So that covers feature governance. The other section of governance we have is we have item delegation governance. Now, item delegation governance currently only covers global scoped entities such as endpoints, actions, and agents. So here you could see we have a global agent. Sorry, my screen's kind of small right here, but we have a global agent. I have Paul Leiser assigned to that. And so if I come over here and take a look at this, I can actually see that this is my Llama Maverick agent. I can see that only Paul has access to it. I do not have the allow all on. Paul has access to it. And so if I go over and I look at my chat, even though it is a global agent, I will not have access to the Llama Maverick agent because I am not within the governance policy. And so here you can see that in my list of global agents, I do not have Llama Maverick. So global agents are going to enable our teams to manage, or it will enable you to manage agents both at the admin level, but also control the features that you need to implement for various different groups. It allows for power users to be power users and for more simple users to be more simple and not get convoluted by some of these other things that they may not have access to or understand how to use. Any questions on that? All right, back to you, Paul.
That's great, Nathaniel. And I think it's really important. The delegated one is great because for global endpoints, what this means too for your models, you can assign a like GPT-5.5 Pro to a subset of users. So when they come in, they will only see that GPT-5.5 Pro. So this is just going to help you delineate who can use which models as well. Besides just agents and getting even more powerful, allows you to deploy Claude if you want to use any of the Anthropic models, but maybe you only want to roll it out to a subset of the user community at the beginning. That gives you control to be able to do that. I think it's really cool. Great work on that, Nathaniel. All right, so we're going to look at a few other things here. Let's look at another agent. So we've had the MS Graph. We've added the ability now for the MS Graph plugin to also be able to send emails. So if you come over to, oh, that's not that one. Okay. I'm in where? There we go. Oh, that was fine. The agent for executive agent. We have this ability to send emails. Now this can be not all users can need to use it, so we'll be adding the ability to be able to for admins to disable this if you do not want users to be able to send emails or create calendar invites. Everything else here is read, but by giving this ability to your agents, you can now execute more things. And when that comes to, we have personal workflows. We showed this off a little bit before, but now with personal workflows, they become even more powerful. They can execute through your documents, your workspaces. You're going to see something in here called file sync. I should show that off first. So we have these new sync capability. You can see this is synced with a file share on my local computer. And what it does, it syncs documents from a file share into your workspace. Tying that in with workflows. If you have a file sync on, and right now this is for SMB shares and Azure files. We'll be adding support though for OneDrive and SharePoint and other ISP type workspaces like Google Workspace and stuff too. So you'll be able to do syncs for other workspaces coming in the future after this next release. But this gives you the ability then to sync these things in and then execute on any new data that comes in, if that's what you want to do. You also have the ability for search, analyze, and compare. And with workspaces, you can run each of those documents independently for analyze. So it can say you have 100 new documents that come in, you want to summarize each one of them. You can leverage your agent to summarize each one of them and to email you at the end. So you can pick that executive agent. and have it go through and summarize all those documents and then email you at the end of it. The way these run, you run them and you get a history. You kick that off. You can see the activities. And it goes through and shows you everything that it's done. We've also added workflows to group workspaces. So groups can also now build workflows against group data and group information and stuff like that. So you could tie in a group agent with group data, and then that group, everybody within the RBAC of that group can interact and use that information. With these workspaces and this with that agent, or with the MS Graph capability, we also have added in a simple chat capability. And what simple chat does as an action allows you to, it can create groups, add users to groups. It can create documents and save those documents. It can create Markdown or Word or PowerPoint documents and save them to your personal workspace. So you can assign this action to an agent, and now it can execute and build things and return them into a workspace so you have access to them. Oh, there, that security event executed. Just spin it up here. There we go. This one went through my emails, found some emails, and gave, this is the whole workflow of that security one. Everything that it did. It built images and stuff like that, everything it needed to process that and then execute on it. Some of our other agents we've been building out here, we've the ability to connect agents with Foundry. So now you can do Foundry and old and new Foundry for agents, but also workflows. And workflows, so these are the agents in Foundry. I have a bunch here for a USPTO demo, and then one around wildland fire risk. So these are a bunch treating these agents in Foundry as like building blocks. You can use workflows to tie those agents together. And then those workflows are treated like an agent. Simple Chat can interact with these workflows as agents. If we go over to chat, we have the wildland fire risk agent. These can take a little bit, so I'm just going to pick one that I've done before. Here it went through, let's evaluate the risk. It went through, build out the risk, and generated everything back. But all this information was actually generated in Foundry and then returned back to us. We have another one here around USPTO, prior art search. We uploaded an image here in the chat and said, hey, find if this is for prior art search. It went through and used, again, the agents in Foundry that connect to APIs and other things to generate that response and return it. So Simple Chat can interact with those agents in Foundry as well. The goal there is to give you flexibility on where you want your agents to live. You want them to live in a enterprise space like Foundry, or do you want to build agents and have them run locally here within your Simple Chat runtime? And again, you don't have to enable all these. Admins have control over what agents can be built and everything like that. Let's see, any other, another one here. Email capabilities, Simple Chat, Foundry. So does anybody have any questions, any thoughts, anything? We went through a lot today. We're going to be building out over the next few weeks. We're like rounding up the bugs on these features. As we finish those up, we will be working on documentation and videos. The goal is to have a lot more videos here on agent development within Simple Chat, connecting agents within Foundry, just to be able to showcase how to do that cleanly and simply, building out workflows, and how to get workflows to execute on the tasks that you want. And as you go through any of these things, once this is released, please let us know. If you don't want to wait till the 23rd, you reach out to us. We do have a branch with these beta features that you can test as well. We have a handful of organizations that are using these features today to provide feedback on using them. Some of the things that we're coming up with next after the June 23rd release, we'll be adding support for MCP. So MC support for outbound, as well as a simple chat MCP server. So that's one of the big things that are coming next. Also then showing, using Copilot with simple chat, more documentation videos. And then one of the other things we're building in here are 2 agents that admins can enable. One is a simple chat help agent. So it'll show up for users and it'll help them. So if they have questions on how to do something in simple chat or questions about it, they can ask that. And then for admins, there'll be an admin agent as well. So it'll do read. They'll have control over, is the agent just read only? So they can ask questions about the configuration or information within simple chat. And then, we'll evaluate also, does it make sense to allow that agent to modify something like, hey, you want to increase the font size, or you want to change the name, or there's so many features now and configuration settings within the back end there. The admin one is to help speed up and articulate the data that's back there a lot quicker.
Hey, Paul, did you want to cover assigned knowledge?
Oh, yes. Thank you. I
That's
missed that one on my list. Yes, that's a great one. So another one we have here is assigned knowledge. I'm just going to build this up real quick. And what assigned knowledge does, do I have it over in this one? No, okay. So assigned knowledge gives your agent the ability to just discuss that knowledge explicitly. So you can come in here and say, like, say you have one for, we have the simple chat one. So you can pick simple chat for a public domain knowledge. And you can see down the active documents, this is all of its knowledge. What that does is that means users then don't have to select the knowledge themselves. Maybe you want to build one just around ServiceNow. You want to build an agent just around, let's bring this one up. Of course it's missing. You want to build an agent around an explicit set of data or knowledge. You have knowledge around geological information or how to manage this specific type of application because it's really complex. Prior to assigned knowledge, users would have had to have come in here and just done a search or selected the scope of that workspace. Like I'd have to come here and select simple chat and ask a question. But with assigned knowledge, they only have to select the agent. And then that knowledge, it can only be leveraged to answer that question. I'm just going to build it out here real quick. You're going to a simple chat agent that's just going to answer questions around the simple chat public workspace. But I'll use the tools that we have here. There we go. Next, we don't have any actions we have to take, but we're going to select knowledge. So let's restrict it to just that. I'm going to come back down here and select simple chat. They're all selected. If you have a lot of control here too. If you didn't want all the documents that you had, you could just select one of them. Or if you wanted to do tags, if you have tags, you can select just tags. You can also use, if you have URLs and deep research and web search enabled, you can assign actual websites as knowledge as well. And if for some reason you want users to still use their own documents against the agent that has its own knowledge, like maybe you have a style guide agent and that agent has assigned knowledge just around your style guide. So you want users to be able to use their own documents against it. That's one of the reasons you might turn that on.
A good example of the web URLs for any of you on here that might be security focused might be putting NIST CVE websites into a restricted knowledge for an agent.
I like that. So when you select an agent that has assigned knowledge, workspace turns on. But you can see it uses, if you click on it, it's using assigned knowledge, ask it. So you can ask the agent what knowledge it has, and it'll go through and actually tell you all of the information that it has access to. I have a lot of documents in there that are just, that don't have titles. There you go. Now, I'm asking how do you change the logo? It's going to go through, use all of its documents. I didn't have to select the workspace. It's going to tell me how to, it's going to give me that answer. So this is again a new capability. So you have a little bit more control over the agents that you make to be able to execute on the tasks and the use cases that you have. Thanks for that reminder. That was a good one. Again, so I will we'll have an email that goes out to everyone on the 23rd that this was released. It'll explain in detail as well in that email all the new features and capabilities. We'll have a lot of documentation and videos that go out with it as well. Our next meeting is July 23rd. Our next Simple Chat community call is July 23rd. And let's see, anything else around anything that's coming out? No, I mean, again, if you have any thoughts or questions, please email simplechat@microsoft.com or contact one of us directly. And we appreciate everybody's time. I appreciate, Nathaniel, your efforts and everything you do for Simple Chat. And thanks, everyone.